Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your equations unit video on rational number equations. So you are going to solve one-step equations that include fractions and decimals. So fractions and decimals are part of rational numbers category, and that's what we're going to look at. So if you think back to what you know about dividing fractions. Let's think about it. What do you know? Say, for example, 2/3 divided by 1/4. How would the information about what you know about dividing help you with an equation, with a question or an equation like this one? So you're using two things of prior knowledge. You might remember that dividing fractions is easy as pie. You flip the second and you multiply. Because 1/4 and 4/1 are reciprocals, and they are they're inverses, multiplicative inverses rather than additive, and they multiply to 1. So how can that help you here? Well, this is a multiplication equation with g multiplied by 3/4 is 6. So it's 3/4 of what number is 6? Well, to undo multiplication, we know that we divide. So you have to remember that dividing fractions, if I divide this side, I divide by the reciprocal. I'd also divide this side by that same thing. So the inverse property of multiplication is that the product of a number and its multiplicative inverse is 1. So again, 3/4 times 4/3 is 1. They cancel. Or if you multiply across, 12 over 12 is the same as 1. So in algebra, that just means any number, A or B cannot be 0, would be the same thing. Okay, so we would do that. We're going to be multiplying by the multiplicative inverse, or reciprocal we called it. Remember, that was reciprocal. So we're just being asked, and we've done this before when we had divisions. This is kind of a review. Yay! Find the multiplicative inverse of each number. So the multiplicative inverse, or the reciprocal, or remember, reciprocal, is that number flipped around. So the opposite reciprocal of 2/5 is 5/2, because if you check them, if you multiply them together, we would get 10/10, which is the same as 1. For a question that is a mixed number, we first have to change that mixed number into an improper fraction by doing 2 times 3 plus 1. So that is 7/3. So the opposite reciprocal of 2 1/3 is 3/7. So a couple for you to try. Opposite is when we get to negatives. The multiplicative inverse of 5/6 is 6/5. Opposite reciprocal of 1 1/2. First, we have to change it to an improper fraction. The multiplicative inverse is 2/3. 8 is the same as 8/1, so its multiplicative inverse is 1/8. And 4/3 is a multiplicative inverse of 3/4. So make sure that you understand how to define the multiplicative inverse, and then we're going to divide equations involving rational numbers. So again, that multiplication property of equality, whatever you multiply to one side, you have to do to the other to keep it equal. Big important part, though, is the fraction bar indicates division. So when we see x/2, that means x divided by 2. So we see that, how we undo that is that we multiply then by 2/1, because that's going to cancel to 1. 2/2 is the same as 1. Okay? So let's check our solution here. So we have 7 is the same as what number divided by 4? It's nice to read it that way. Remember, if you really like your variable being first, you can just switch what's on either side of the equal sign. So what number divided by 4 is 7? So we can undo that by multiplying by 4. So we get 4/4 is the same as whatever we multiplied across, maybe that would help some of you. If I have 4n over 4, those 4's are going to cancel, and I'm just left with n. 7 times 4 is 28. Plug it back in to check. So 28 divided by 4 should be 7. Look at my multiplication table. I know that's true, so my solution's correct. So try some division equations. Here's one with decimals. If I'm being asked to solve what number divided by 3.5 gives me 4 2/10, I undo by multiplying by 3.5. And those cancel. A number over itself is just 1, so I'm left with 1d. Well, then I'm also going to multiply by 3.5 over here. Don't have a calculator on me, so I'm going to do some old school multiplication. Remember, when you're multiplying decimals, you line them up on the right, and you count the decimal places. So 1 decimal place, 1 number behind the decimal. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 2 is 20 plus 1. Hold the ones place, go to the tens. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. Add them together. Since we have 2 total decimal places, move it in 2 from this way. So we have 14 7/10, or 70 hundredths, which is a good estimate. So D is equal to 14 7/10. And you can plug that in, and even plug it in on a calculator to see if that divided by this equals that. Try some here, and come back and check. What number divided by 8 is equal to 6? I'm going to multiply by 8 on both sides. So I have m is equal to 48. Plug it in and check. 48 divided by 8 is equal to 6. And it's true, so my solution is correct. Another one, I'm going to multiply, undo division with multiplication. Multiply by 2.8. Might have to do some side work. 2.8 times 1.5 is 40. 14, 8, and 2. 1 decimal place, 1 decimal place. Total of 2 once I add these. I can't scroll down. Added together, we have 2 decimal places, so 4.2. A little messy, I apologize. So another one, we're going to do what number divided by 4.7 gives me 2.3. So I multiply by 4.7. You can use a calculator, but showing your work is still important. You still have to show these steps. So I have k equals, let's see, 2.3 times 4.7, 21, 16, 12, 9, 2 decimal places, so 10 and 81 hundredths. Then, of course, checking your solution. Last little bit, multiplication equation. So when there are fractions involved here, and come back to this, kind of like we just did earlier, it's kind of out of order. Fractions as coefficients. So the expression 3/4 can be read as 3/4 of x, 3/4 multiplied by x, 3x divided by 4, or x over 4 multiplied by 3. So very different. So what we're looking for is what is 3/4 of, 3/4 of a number is 12/20. So again, we write our equation. There's multiplication, we undo that with division. How we undo that is multiply by the reciprocal. 12 over 12 is 1, so I'm left with 1x. Multiply by the same thing on the other side. I can cross cancel. So I know 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 goes into 4 once. 4 goes into 25 times. So then I'm left with, trying to get a highlighter here. I'm left with 4 times 1 and 5 times 1. So I end up with 4 over 5. Now I can plug it back into check. So I do 3/4 times 4/5 should be 12/20. Multiply across, 12/20 is 12/20. So my solution works. So you do need some prior knowledge here. You need that multiplicative inverse, and you need that information about multiplying fractions straight across. So 1/2 of what number is 8? That might be helpful if you know half of a number. It's really like you're just undoing and multiplying by 2 on both sides. So then I get x is equal to 16. Check it. 1/2 of 16 is 8. 16 over 2. Sure enough, 8 is equal to 8. 16. 3/4 of what number is 9? Multiply by the reciprocal on both sides. Put your whole number over 1, remember. Cancels for just 1x. And I can multiply straight across or cross cancel. 36 over 3 is the same as 12. Check my solution. 3/4 of 12 should be 9. Let's think, if we know what 1/4 of 12 is 3, we have 3/4, so we have 3 3s, which is 9. See that? Looking for 1/4 of 12 is 3. 3 of those 3s is 9. My solution's true. Last one here of these. 7/8 of what number is 21/64? Multiply by the reciprocal, which is because you're dividing, and cancels for x equals, I'm going to cross cancel here because these are big numbers I don't want to multiply. 7 goes into 7 once, goes into 21 3 times. 8 goes into 8 once, goes into 64 8 times. I'm left with 3 over 8. Plug it into check. 7/8 times 3/8 should be 21/64. And it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, one last little word problem just to make sure we can practice, and then we're done. Wilson has 9 pounds of trail mix. How many 3/4 pound bags of trail mix can he make? So notice that we have a total, and we want to break it up into small amounts of bags. So how would we write an equation for this? So you think we have a total of 9, so we're thinking 3/4 times how many bags will give me 9 pounds? So you say 3/4 of what number is 9, so we multiply by 4/3. And we get 3 goes in 3 once, 3 goes in here 3 times, 12. So we find out that there are 12 bags, which makes sense that because we're filling the bags with less than a pound. If we have 9 total pounds and we're filling each bag with less than a pound, we're going to need more bags than we have pounds. So don't forget, rewatch what you can. Watch someone else's video if you need to. Check out the book and online examples. Khan Academy, whatever you need. You're the best. Good luck.